Welcome to the Cheer Athlete. In this episode, I'm gonna give you some tips for moms and coaches to care for yourselves and something that you can teach your cheerleaders as they are going through the process so that when they finish cheerleading, they can hold on to that and hold on to the feeling that they got from cheer, but also remembering that it's life. Cheerleading is amazing, but life is more than just cheer. Welcome to the Cheer Athlete Podcast, where we bring coaches, parents, and athletes expert tips and advice to help keep cheerleaders healthy, strong, and at the top of their game. Now let's go. So if you have noticed, I have a different background. I don't have my screen, my green screen behind me. I don't know why. It disappeared. And I'm going with it because I think now you can see me and you don't get that weird wave behind my head. Um, but I do recognize that the lighting is a little weird. So we'll work on this for next time. But I wanted to make sure I got this out today. So here we are. And let's dive into some tips, something that I've just recently come across as a former coach and a former cheerleader, and interactions with my mom and what maybe I wish I had done differently growing up, or things I'm recognizing now that I wish my mom had done differently too. So this is a little bit more personal, but I hope that it resonates, and that you can, the whole purpose of this platform and this podcast is to help give you ideas for how to make the process of cheer much more enjoyable for life, and so that your kids like it for life and that you like it for life. And I see a lot of times, there are people that decide they don't want to continue cheering, and it's not for everybody. So that's completely fine. And you get to a point where like you just need to stop, and that's totally understandable. But for those of us that like to stay with it, we want to make sure that it's enjoyable. But we also have to recognize that there is more to life than cheer. Um, and that's something that I'm coming into now. My mom's having some trouble. She's okay, but like she's 85 years old and declining cognitively. And there's just some different changes in there that I'm seeing more and more of. And I just had the revelation last night, on how bummed I am. And the things that I remember from growing up and where, how she was involved and how she was involved in cheer. Now, my mom did not want me to cheer. My mother was a field hockey player and a basketball player. I think she was a phys ed major. She did a lot like through school, in high school. And she really wanted, something that had that athleticism and team bonding. And she didn't see cheerleading like a team. But lo and behold, she had two daughters because my sister actually got into Pop Warner before I started cheering. She was younger than me. And so she started Pop Warner and I was already in high school. And that's what I was like, oh, I like that. And what's Jen doing? Let me go do that. We frequently joke that she's the older and I'm the younger one. But I'm actually the older one. So I started cheering in high school and mom's like, I want you to stay with swimming because that's a real sport. She's old school, right? She didn't get it. But then she saw how we progressed through the years and how much it's meant to us, and she's super proud of us. And she used to come to our games. You know, I don't really remember because she was working when I was in high school, so I don't really remember her coming to my high school games. Um, but I do remember her making the trek to Northeastern, and coming to a football game or a basketball game at least once a season. And she would bring cookies with her and like so excited to come and be. And she didn't drive that long distance. She'd always have a friend with her. So there's a couple of different people and could stay for the weekend and take it to dinner. Um, I miss those days of her being on the sideline and she didn't really understand what I was doing, but like she was happy that I was there and part of a team and I had made friends and I had found my space in cheer. She got mad at me quite frequently because although it wasn't cheer, kept me in school. I was partying too much and partly because of cheer. I made friends in cheer, and like we'd go out after games and be with the football team and the basketball team or the hockey team and be out and partying, and I should have been studying. And I mean, I was pretty good during the week, but on weekends I could have put more effort in and not slacked as much. And so she didn't love that aspect of it, but she also recognized that because of cheer, I actually wanted to stay cheering, so I pushed myself to stay in school and do better and got my act together so that I could finish and graduate and do well. And she was there to support me through all of that. Um, and she encouraged me, and I would call her crying because I was failing classes, and Laura, is this something that you really want? If it is, put your mind to it and get out there and do it and stop goofing around. I think that's my first tip. Like, you have to sometimes tell your kids, stop if it's something you want, if this is what you want to stay with, whether it's cheer or they're not doing well in school, like, you have to teach them. You have to tell them, if this is what you want, put your mind to it and make it happen. When I didn't make the team, mom was the first one to tell me, if you want to make it next year, then put the work in and get your butt better and put that extra effort in. And that helped me to be better. Moms are our biggest cheerleaders, and they are also our biggest pushers to, you know, tell us that we have to do better, to tell us we have to stay on track. They keep us on track. And without my mom, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Um, so not only was she a cheerleader for me at the games and coming and supporting me there, I don't know, I probably would have been embarrassed when I was in high school, like, oh, are you there cheering for me? Although now I get excited when I go see my niece and nephews play anything. I'm like, oh, and I'm yelling for them, and they're probably like, oh, cringe. Um, Circle of life, it's what happens. But mom was always there. I remember in college being excited when she would come to my games, and show up and be there, and it just was supportive of me. um, it's also, I wish I had done differently, and I don't know how I could have been taught this, because I think I didn't learn it until I was older, of recognizing just how important that was, of that connection of mom coming to me and how much it meant to her to come to me, and how much I was still kind of a brat, and thanks for dinner, mom, I'm going out with my friends now. Or, mom, I can't talk to you, I gotta be on the sidelines, which, if you can't talk during a game, that's, I get that. Um, but like at halftime, go and see my mom, and connect there and like have that feeling. And I looking back, I wish I had been better about that and making that connection and finding ways to actually spend more time with her. Um, because that time's lost. Eventually, it's going to get lost. Both my parents are aging, and we don't know when the last time is going to be. And I will always hold on to the fact that my mom taught me how to cook. She taught me to s- speak up for myself. It's taken me a long time to get there, but she always told me I could do anything that I wanted to. And she always pushed me to do more. She wanted me to get educated, to pursue my education, to get my doctorate. She wanted me to finish and become a PT and work hard. She wanted me to be part of a team, and she always had my back. And now, as an adult who's having to care more for my mom than I did in the past, I have to remind myself of that. She like was my rock. When I wasn't feeling good in school, I would call my mom. If I got in a fight with a boy, I would call my mom. When I didn't make the team, I would call my mom. And like, that meant the world to me. And I cherish that now, because sometimes I want to call my mom, but mom's not always fully able to be my mom right now. Um, and although sometimes she yells at me because she's like, you're not my mom and you're not the boss of me. And she's right. But, the roles are reversed, and I'm having to parent, and that is challenging, in so many ways. And I'm having to remember exactly how she raised me, and what she gave me in that process, and to be patient for that. So what is my takeaway as far as cheer goes? You know, I don't think little kids hear it. I don't even think teenagers hear it, but there's subtle ways like you showing up for your kids is going to mean the world to them as they go forward. You being there and you supporting them and telling them, I'm sorry, you just can't do 50 other things. This is how it is. Or you supporting them and saying, like, yes, you have to potentially pay for part of this because cheer is expensive. So you're going to have to, if you have practice 3 days a week, you might have to either do chores around the house that you're helping to earn and cover that, or you're going to have to get a job that helps to contribute to some of this, to the gas. Oh my goodness, you guys, how do you pay the gas? Like I wasn't traveling that much when I was cheering, and you guys are like, some of you all are traveling like 2 hours for practice multiple times a week. And how do you do that? And I'm not blaming the kids. I don't know when they have the time to do it. And jobs are persnickety. So, they want you there just as much as, because being on a cheer team is a job. And so everybody wants you there. And you can only do so much. And I totally get that. And I'm not saying every kid has to have a job and full time while they're cheering. It's not possible. But making them responsible is important. Making sure that they recognize, school comes first. They have to eat right, like teaching them to eat right. Giving them the tools to help them succeed, making sure that they're not just stretching and not doing exercises that is just cranking through their body, that they are doing things to build their core strength up and to build their hip stability up and to keep their mobility, but not forcing it. And knowing when to say enough. You have been doing that dance all night long. It's time to go to bed. Or, you've been stretching and pushing yourself really hard and you're tired. You need to get some sleep. And close this down and go get some sleep. Sometimes moms have to say that. And I think when you do that, they subtly hear you. They're probably going to yell at you. I yelled at my mom so many times, and I still do. Um, I don't catch myself more now because I don't want to do that. So they're going to yell at you and they're going to fight and they're going to argue because they're learning and you're teaching them. And I think if you can give them tools to self-regulate and you can give them tools to uh, know what's enough and what's too much, that will help them to be better in the long run. And they're going to come back to you and they're going to be able to help care for you in that way when your time comes. And you're supporting them through all of their endeavors will help, will just enable that process down the road. And if you're a coach listening and maybe you had the same experience, my mom used to actually come to more games because when I moved here to Massachusetts, she moved closer to me also, and so she would sometimes come to those games, and so she got to know my cheerleaders as well. Never really went to a competition. When I was competing, we were in Texas, so in college, and she wasn't going to come down there. Um, and when I was coaching, the timing never worked. And like for me to get her and bring her to a competition and have her be there all day, just it just I couldn't do it. So coaches, if you do that and your parents can be and they're there to support you, that's amazing. Like celebrate them. Appreciate your parents for helping you to become the coach that you are. Appreciate your moms for having to parent their kids and for each other. You guys are both working together to make your cheerleader the best that they can be. And not just as a cheerleader, but the best human that they can be. The importance and the reason my mom wanted me to be on a team sport was because I had to make a commitment, because I had to show up all the time. I had to put the work in. I had to realize it's not just about me, it's about the whole team. Back when I was in high school, we weren't building as much, but we were a team. And if one of us wasn't there, it did make a difference. My friend Kelly had these amazing jumps. And if she wasn't there to jump at the beginning of the game, They relied on me, and my jumps were not good. Um, and I recognize that. Um, but the key, like it in college, like when we were building, when we were going to competition, we had to rely on each other, and my coach expected a commitment, and I had to do the work outside of there. And that my life is like that now. I show up to a job every day. I have to do my job every day, but I have other things that that I've committed to, and that laid that foundation. And my mom supported me through that, and that's why she wanted me to do a team sport. And I recognize that that's what that gave me. It also taught me that I had to, you know, respect what somebody else was going through and support them in the process, which we have to do in everyday life. So it's kind of a little bit all over the place, but my key takeaway is know that what you're giving your kids now by supporting them in what they're doing is going to pay off later. Be okay with teaching them no sometimes, and be okay with their pushback a little bit, because that's how they're going to learn. And keep the lines of communication open. Know when you need to step back and give them space so that they can fly and be free. And that's going to help them progress. You don't have to have all the answers for them. My mom didn't have all the answers for me, but she gave me great suggestions. And when I listened to them, I usually did better. And sometimes I had to process and say, okay, maybe I just do this a little bit my way. And she taught me that. And that's a key thing, that I think you're teaching your kids all aspects of life, and cheer is just one of them. Let's keep moving them forward and keep them becoming cheerleaders for you, just as you're cheerleaders for them for the long haul. A little sappy today. This is hitting home for me right now, and just gotta go, take it day by day. And I encourage you to also, if you are, a sandwich generation and you have parents and kids that you're juggling between, it's not easy. And just remember the love that they have for you, and you can only do what you can do, and that's okay. Your first priority right now is care for your kids. Maybe your second priority is care for your parents, but there's got to be some leeway. You got to find that balance. So just recognize, give yourself a pat in the back. You're doing the best you can each and every day, and it's all going to be okay. If you have questions, or if anything, if you have thoughts about this, or anything that, you have suggestions for me, I would gladly welcome them. You can leave me a comment, or send me an email, or reach out and send me a DM on Instagram. I really appreciate it. Hopefully next week, I think what I'm going to do is put up my wall screen of the cheer podcast. I got to figure out how to do that. I am not good at hanging things. This has been here for a while, so we're going to play with it and mix it around a little bit, and hopefully have a little bit brighter of a background next time. But thank you for listening. If you stayed here this long, if this resonates with you, please share it out, and hit subscribe so that we can get messages out to keep our cheerleaders healthy and enjoying cheerleading for the long haul. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for being here. Don't forget, when in doubt, breathe out. Take life one step at a time. Like my mom taught me, you can do anything you put your mind to. And as my dear friend Drew Keller said, you're responsible for your own vibes. Let's go get the day.